So, hello everyone, good day. This is Wenona and Sagonoy from this section, AB Literature 1B, and today's video I'll be doing a subject report for this semester, and yeah, I hope you guys would tune in. So before we start off this video, I made some rules, but these rules are just for formality. Throughout this video, I'll do the talking and you do the listening. So yeah, that's just our simple ones. So we have also some objectives here, and it's all from the lesson 7, from the module 7, and I hope that we can answer this at the end of this report or this video. So yeah, let's start. So in today's lesson, we will tackle about the lesson 7, the material or economic self, which is basically the last lesson from this subject. To start, let us first read the introduction for this lesson. The material or the economic self. People have a core set of behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, and values that constitute themselves. It is the sum total of who they are. However, their concepts of self can change depending on circumstances and influences. Just like from the previous lessons that we have learned, this lesson would also focus on another component that affects how we see and define ourselves. So let us start with the definitions. So here are some of the definition of the material self from the lesson, and I will read it one by one and I will explain it to you later. The first one is from William James. He said that a man's self is the sum total of all that he can call his. The next one is the material self is constituted by our bodies, clothes, immediate family, and home. And the last one is for the material self, objects help make the person, but they also show what the person is made of. There are many definitions of the material self given in the module. To put it simply, for you to understand the material self in an easy way, according to William James, the material self refers to objects or places or those who likes to label something as theirs. These items are extensions of people's personalities, just like in the number 3 definition. So for example, certain characteristics of our personality are reflected in our clothing, which define as like calling this as yours, as like this is my wardrobe and this is mine. Psychologists added also that the impact of wealth and equality in human behavior have found that money can powerfully influence our thoughts and actions in ways that we're often not aware of, no matter what our economic circumstances are. Because material self basically talks about possessions and properties in life, and so of course it can affect us in every way it can, especially the way we view ourselves. So money plays a big part in this material self because it marks our possessions here in this society. And so here are some evidences behind the idea that money can change people. So the first one is the social and business value. In here explains that a different motivation can change one's social value to a business value if offered money. An example for that could be an act of something you do voluntarily and can change one's thinking if financial subject is attached. One is the self-sufficiency and service. Those who are conscious of money typically strive to be more self-sufficient than those from whose money isn't priority. For example, is when getting a job done, it may be a very difficult or an impossible task, but with the use of money, one could be an easy and possible for those who has money rather than those who have not. Next is ethics. Those who perceive themselves to be in higher class were the most likely to engage in unethical behavior. We could take the politicians, for example, since they are way much higher than us. They take their position for granted to benefit themselves. The last one is addiction. Many addictions begin because a person gets a positive from a certain type of behavior, whether it's a happy feeling that one gets, it may be from shopping or gambling, and that triggers an addiction, which is called the behavioral or process addiction. It is a compulsive behavior not motivated by dependency on an addictive substance, but rather by a process that leads to a seemingly positive outcome. In addition, the addiction of not just to buy random things, but also the addiction in earning more. So, we have now on the new subtopic, which is the shaping the way we see ourselves, the roles of consumer culture and our sense of self and identity. So let us start off with Kaufman's review on evidence as why is it there is an addition in such institutions like mental hospitals, homes for aged, prisons, concentration camps, and many more. It is because they are deprived or systematically took their positions like money, clothing, and even their names. Like how in the first phrase states here that if positions are viewed as part of self, it allows an intentional loss of possessions should be regarded as a loss or lessening of self. So to briefly explain, positions have been part of people. It what makes them one, and without it, it would become an elimination of uniqueness and a corresponding and often traumatic lessening of individual's sense of self that has given meaning by Cinder and Frumkin. So there are another instances where there is an involuntary loss of possessions due to theft and casualty that may bring a diminished sense of self. Process of grief of mourning, handbag snatching, losing sentimental things could leave long-term effects on an individual, as research sometimes describe possessions as having sentimental value and being much more functional, like belongings, something or someone they have is an extension of themselves. So here are the special cases of extended self. Number one is collections. I shop, therefore I am. To simply explain, these people are collectors who likes to collect things or non-necessities for distinction and self-definition. They are often antisocial and project these objects for human-like qualities or regard them as friends. In conclusion, these collections may appear as transition objects or for some as security blankets or what they called investments for adults. Number 2. Pets as extended self. Like the first one, pets are also commonly representative of self and infer characteristics of people from pets. If collections are friend, owners regard them as a family member, but both are useful as transition objects. We name our pets, talk to them, feed and care on anything that we treat them as human being. We even mourn for its death. Researchers found out also that pets can be therapeutic in expanding the self of children, hospital patients, and the elderly. I apologize for the background noises. So let's continue. So the last one is the body parts. Body parts are among the most central parts of the extended self. In psychoanalytic terms, such self-extension is called cathexis. So cathexis involves the changing of an object, activity, or idea with emotional energy by individual. Cathexis reflects self-acceptance. Women is more highly cathected than men, like how they use grooming products like makeups and many more. And it also said that this extended of ourself is way more higher than material possessions, since it is what people usually see, unlike material possessions that can easily get and discarded. The loss of a body parts is the amount to losing one's identity and being. So let us have a quick recap through the objective questions that we have mentioned from the start of this video. So let us start off with our objective number 1, which is define material self. The material self, according to William James, pertains to the objects, places, or even people which have the label mind. Such possessions are viewed as extensions of individuals' identities. An example could be clothing and our bodies. The second question objective is describe how material self affects a person. So it has an impact on your identity, self-confidence, and self-concept. The self-concept of a person helps them identify who they are and how they belong in a society. And the last question objective is explain the relationship between possessions and the extended self. So to explain, the extended self concept appears to be more deeper concept than prior versions, positing a connection between self-concept and consumer brand choice, since it includes consumer activity instead of buying habits. So the last objectives goes explain the relationship between possessions and the extended self. So possessions as part of one's self that he or she calls his or her own, resulting in a self-definition based or what we call the extended self on the external objects that one surrounds oneself with. So possessions as an outgrowth of the internal conflict. So that's all for today. That is my report for this semester, and yeah, thank you for listening and have a good day.